Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I am going to be going through my eyeshadow palette collection and sharing that with you all. I have 20 eyeshadow palettes all stacked up right here, and I'm very excited to be getting into this. I absolutely love makeup, especially eyeshadow palettes. I just love playing around with them. So if you see any palettes that catch your eye, either you want to know more about them, you want to see me feature them in a video, please let me know and I will be happy to do that. And with that said, let's just get into the video. So first up here is the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells quad. I usually prefer my palettes to have more shades, like I think a good amount is around 12 shades, but this one is a very nice palette. I just wish that this crease shade was one matte and two performed better because it's not very pigmented. But overall, this is a nice palette, nice everyday, easy to reach for. Next, we have this Mary Kay quad, and this is the Mini Mineral Eye Color quad. This one is super old and it's probably very much expired, but I just keep it around because I really like this green shimmer shade. And yeah, I should probably get rid of it soon, but for now I just keep it around. Next, from Profusion, we have this Mixed Metals Peach palette. I'm honestly not sure if they make this anymore. I feel like at one point they repackaged it, possibly reformulated it, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it, but this is a palette that I tend to forget about, quite honestly. It's a pretty palette. It's got some pretty standard shades in it, but one of my biggest complaints about this is these top shades right here. Those are my favorite shades in this palette, but they just don't perform as well as some of these other shades do, and they're kind of more dry, so I feel like that might be one of the reasons that I don't reach for it as much, but I still like to hold on to it because I like eyeshadow palettes. Next, from Wet n Wild, this is my Au Naturel palette. I'm pretty sure they do not make this one anymore. My friend actually got this for me for my birthday one year, and I really love this palette. I don't use all the shades that much. I really only use this one, and then these three right here. This one, this purpley grayish taupe shimmer shade, is one of my absolute favorite shades in my entire collection. And yeah, I really do enjoy this palette, but I really need to get more use out of the shades. Next, from Maybelline, we have this Lemonade Craze palette. So this palette is super nice for summer, in my opinion. These shades aren't the most pigmented in the world, but I do still enjoy them, and as someone who isn't an expert when it comes to makeup, isn't always looking for that dramatic pigmentation, I find this one super easy to use, super enjoyable, super wearable, and I do really enjoy this palette. Next, from Wet n Wild, we have their Pac-Man collaboration with Pac-Man. This is the Game Over palette. So first off, this packaging is so adorable. I love Pac-Man. I actually purchased the entire collaboration with Wet n Wild and Pac-Man. This is a bit more on the colorful side than I would typically reach for, but like I said, I really like Pac-Man. This is a collector's piece for me, and I do really enjoy the shades when I want to play around more with color. I especially really love this yellow shade and these blue shades. It is a very pretty palette. I just don't reach for it that much. Next, from e.l.f., we have this Little Black Beauty Book, I believe it's called. I got this for Christmas one year. I had been begging my mom to get it for me for Christmas, and I don't use it that much because, as you can see, there's a lot of shimmery browns. But I really do like these green shades over here. Those are probably my most reach for in this palette. And someone actually compared this to the Metropolis palette by Natasha Denona. It was like they kind of look similar, so it kind of made me like this palette even more. Next, from Makeup Revolution, this is the Revolution Reloaded Basic Mattes palette. So, oh my goodness. As you can see, there are a lot of just basic mattes, like it says. I don't reach for this palette that often. I do prefer matte shadows over shimmer shadows, but I would like my palettes to have at least a couple shimmer shades in them, just to give me that option, give me that variety. But this is a nice quality palette with the shades that I've used. I haven't used all of them yet though. Next, more from Wet n Wild. So this is my first 10 pan palette. This is the Not a Basic Peach palette. The colors in here are very pretty, and I think the mattes perform really well, but the shimmers, especially this blue shimmer, it's just not that pigmented in my opinion, and I would like it to have more of an impact when I put it on my eye. I don't really get that much use out of it, especially not nearly as much as my other 10 pan palette, which is this one right here. This is the Rosé in the Air. As you can see, I've hit 4 pans in this palette. I absolutely adore this palette. I think the performance of this one is a lot better than this one. That is just my personal opinion. I'm not sure if they're actually different, but I feel like, especially this one only has 2 shimmers, but I feel like these perform better than the ones in that other palette. The only shade in here that I don't really like is this one right here, because it's super dry and kind of chalky. But overall, I absolutely adore this palette. It's a super affordable dupe for the modern Renaissance, and I just really love this color scheme. Next, from Maybelline, this is actually my first ever eyeshadow palette. This is the Nudes. So this is a just pretty basic cool tone palette. It's not the most pigmented by any means, but it is pretty nice. And I mean, it is older now, so it probably doesn't perform as well as it used to, but I still really enjoy it. I really like to reach for these more gray tones when I use this palette, because I don't really have that many in my collection. But yeah. Next is my Milani Soft and Sultry palette. So this is another more cool toned palette. This one's a lot newer to me than the Maybelline one was, but I really, really love this palette. It is a nice cool to neutral palette. It performs really well. The only shade that I have problems with is this Diamonds and Pearls shade, because it's a lot drier than these other shimmer shades. And like I said, I love matte shadows, prefer those to shimmer shadows, and these ones perform so nicely. I would kind of like it if another one of these darker shimmers was a bit lighter, but that might also have to do with the fact that the light shimmer shade in this palette isn't that good. Next, this is my newest palette in my collection. This is the Nomad by Juvia's Place. So to start out with, this packaging is absolutely stunning. I absolutely love the artwork. Then it's repeated again on the inside here. And then the shades in here are super pretty. I think these are really nice shadows for fall. Not that makeup needs to be worn during a specific season, but if I was to say, oh, a perfect fall palette, this would be it. I think these shades are super pretty, especially this middle shade right here. It is just a perfect shimmery lid shade. And yeah, and the mattes in here, this is my first ever Juvia's Place palette, and I had always heard people raving about how good they were. The mattes in here do perform really nicely. I feel like my looks can get a little bit muddied, but I feel like it might also have to do with the colors, because it has like this greenish gray and then this kind of greenish brownish matte shade. But when I use the more orangey yellow shades, it turns out a lot nicer. Next, this is probably my favorite palette in my collection. This is my Modern Renaissance by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm sure you all know what this looks like. I absolutely love this palette. I love the color scheme in here. I was a lot later to the game of getting this. I only got this about a year ago, maybe a year and a half now. I seriously love this palette, and I will continue to love it. Next, I have two palettes from ColourPop. I'm going to start with this one, actually. So these are both from the Disney Designer Collection. This first one is It's a Princess Thing. This is the first collaboration with Disney, I believe. And first off, this packaging, the artwork on here is absolutely stunning. I love it. And then the shades in here. A lot of people, when this first came out, they were saying that they thought this was kind of boring. But me, being a super neutral lover, I thought this was absolutely stunning. It doesn't have as many mattes in here as I would like. It only has these three, this and this one. Those are the only true matte shades in this palette. You can use like this B shade. It does have a little bit of glitter. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but it has some gold glitter in it, but that can pretty much just be tapped away. And yeah, my absolute favorite shade in here is Thingamabob. It's a beautiful shimmery silver shade. And then this Ray shade is my absolute favorite champagne gold shade in my collection. So I just really love this palette. I will continue to rave about this. So yeah. And then next, I also picked up the Midnight Masquerade palette from Disney and ColourPop. And this one again has this beautiful artwork up here of the princesses. And then the shades in here are, I feel like these ones are a lot more colorful than the It's a Princess Thing palette, and there are also a lot more mattes in this palette. This whole entire bottom row is mattes, and then these three up here are. The one complaint I do have with this palette is that they put in two pressed glitters in here, which I am not a huge fan of. I wish they had just done some sort of regular, either matte or another shimmer shade in their place, but it's not that big of a deal to me. Next, we have my Shared Planet palette. This is their Tiger Collection eyeshadow palette. So the shades in here are super pretty. I really enjoy them. I love the mix of mattes and shimmers in this palette. The lighter shimmers, like these ones, are a little bit harder to use. They're a little bit more sheer, but they work better when applied with a finger. I really like the mission behind this brand. They donate part of their proceeds to helping endangered animals, so I really just wanted to support them, support that, and yeah, I really enjoy this palette. Next, from Tarte, we have their Tartlet Toasted palette. This was my first high-end eyeshadow palette, but I actually got it for half off, so the shades in here are just super pretty, super nice warm tones, and it smells absolutely delicious, so yeah. Next, from BH Cosmetics, it has a rubber band on it because the packaging came apart. But the shades in here are super pretty. I think this is a really nice versatile palette because it has your more cooler tones with the purples. And then it obviously has a lot of warmer tones. And it has your pinks, your warm tones, your neutrals, everything you can really ask for in this palette. I really enjoy it. Like I said earlier, I'm not an expert when it comes to makeup, so when this formula isn't as good as other ones that I've tried, but it's still easy to use in my opinion, and I really enjoy it. And last but certainly not least is my Glitter Realm palette. This is the Whole New World palette by them. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love Aladdin, and I think this packaging is so cute. And then we have the mirror right here, which you can see is the outline of Agrabah, which I think is so cool. And then the shades in here are super pretty. I really like that it has the pops of color, but also you have your more neutral shades in here. So this makes it a very versatile palette. I think it's a very universally friendly palette, in my personal opinion. I really like this enchantment shade. It is such a beautiful purple shade. And then the mattes in here perform so nicely, the shimmers perform nicely, and I just cannot say enough about this palette. So that wraps up my eyeshadow palette collection. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know what else you would like to see from me. Let me know what palettes you would like to see featured on my page. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Bye!